Ismaila Mustapha, a.k.a. Mompha, has been in the news for a while now, as he was allegedly arrested by the EFCC. Mompha was known for allegedly committing internet fraud and money laundering. He's always been living a flamboyant lifestyle. We see it all over social media, Gucci, 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 and has been the envy of most Nigerian youths. So we ask ourselves, is this real? The wealth we see being flaunted, is it possible that all the wealth we see are real, or some of them are fake wealth like this one? Like the way we see Invictus Obi's story break, and we see this Mompha's story break, and then we see people that we think are legitimately hard-working people come up the next day and there is one scam attached to how they got their wealth. Please call us on 07080668014. It's on the screen, because I know I said that too fast. And you can tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view, TVC. So, Mompha was found, was arrested in Eko Atlantic. He lives...
No, he was arrested on Friday, the 18th of October, at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport on his way to Dubai on intelligence. But his accomplice, a Lebanese, was arrested at the Eko Atlantic, tallest building in Nigeria, so-called.
And the apartment was valued at how much?
1.8
billion naira. That's the value of the apartment he's living in.
The door is fireproof.
Oh,
yes.
You go here.
So,
language.
they also said that when they arrested their accomplice, they found 5 wristwatches, and the 5 wristwatches was valued at 60 million naira, valuing each wristwatch at about 12 million naira. And there's so much wealth that the way they flaunt it, it's...
Okay, so
let me
just
finish
worried.
Mompha's investigation revealed that, he has a bureau de change along with one of his siblings, which he uses to, as a decoy, as a cover to, to launder billions of nairas across the world. Because, he is an international personality, and he flaunts this thing along with his little boy on social media. Now, the problem I have with what has been the narrative of conversations amongst Nigerians is leave him now. Is he the only one? He is without sin, cast the first stone. These are the kind of conversations that has continued to degenerate our values. And we're now worshipping wealth as opposed to the, and of course, when you worship wealth, poverty becomes very obvious to you. You don't want to be on the extreme. You just, Shebi is his money. Shebi, the damage that it causes to the country, as financially, of course, is not what we're even discussing yet. It's about the mindset that it destroys, the desperate need to make it at all costs, that that it starts to promote among Nigerian youth. So when we had...
Internet fraud.
Yes, internet fraud has become a norm. People, you see mothers who cannot even speak English, so that you don't say that it's because they become exposed or because they've traveled to say, Kojale, he's just making money, Chachegbowo, that kind of a thing. He makes money. They took our money when they sold us as slaves. They are taking it back. Every stupid thing to justify this kind of stealing. Now, when the arrest was done on the accomplice at the Eko Atlantic, this man ran into the roof. He refused to open the door. They had to break the door down. It was a fireproof door. The EFCC operatives had to do everything to open that door. Knocking on the door could not open it. Him and his wife were inside the house. The guy did not. And when they finally got into the house, the wife said he flew out the window, which was impossible because they were at the toppest floor of the building, the highest floor, and it was impossible he would. So the EFCC operatives, of course, became worried, and they had already reported that he wasn't found, only to see a small opening on the roof, and they were able to smoke him out.
On top. Exactly,
to smoke him out of there. Got him opening a safe box, a fireproof safe box again, and found charms there. So these people have done everything in the book that we should reject as a community. Exactly.
Mariam, when you read this story, what was the first thought that came to your mind?
For me, it's not really about the crime. In every society, there will be criminals. Crimes will be committed. But what makes it sad is that I find that Nigeria has sort of become a place where people can come and flaunt illegitimate and illegal wealth and get away scot-free. That is what we have become. That we're too afraid to ask questions. We're too afraid to be called out for doing the right thing. Many times you see people who are doing legitimate work being made fun of. How much do you have saved? What kind of work are you working? And you're being called out by a criminal, by someone who does illegitimate business. All of a sudden, those are the people that we look up to. Those are the people that have become role models. Those are the people that we listen to. They're the ones that all of a sudden become the voice of wisdom. Do you understand? Just because they have money, however that they got it. And that is what makes me sad. Because we cannot continue to give excuses for stealing. We cannot continue to give excuses for... And when we do that, what we do is... there was a time we discussed something like this, and someone called and said, please leave them. An obvious adult, a mature person said, please leave them. They're not doing anything wrong. But Maria put a question to him. Would you let your child
go into that?
So, of course, he was like, definitely not my own child, you know. No, but the thing is, sometimes we feel it's easier to accept it when it's someone else doing it, but we're afraid, but we do not want it for our children. But the thing is, if you sow a seed, I believe if you sow a seed, it will somehow come back at you. You have a family member who ends up like that, because even in your own self, you do not have the integrity to stand against something like that.
They don't want it close. The real issue in Nigeria now is people want to be the one.
Yes,
so they
poverty
see
is a sin.
They see Mompha and they want to become Mompha. I don't care how we did it. I just want to be able to wear Gucci like him. I want to be able to drive the car he's driving. That is the real problem. Is that regardless, parents will say, "Shebi, you can see Mompha, that one he gets." So we are not culturally accepting anyhow you do it, just blow. And that is why I felt we must discuss this issue, because we must let people understand that we, as a society, must start shouting, Mompha is a thief. These people are thieves.
I hear, when I hear people say, it doesn't matter how you win, just win. I feel upset in my spirit. Exactly, because that means there are no more values, there are no more, guidelines. There is nothing there limiting the extent you can get to get success. And that's one of the reasons, I find is the fact that we have chosen to define success as wealth.
Exactly,
so
and that's a problem.
You are doing well all by yourself. You have a small car, you have a small house, even if it's a rented apartment and all of that. Nobody sees you as successful because you are not riding the biggest of cars. You are not flaunting money when you go to parties. You are not,
I'll come back to you.
All right.
Izzy calling from Alimosho. Welcome to the show. Good morning. Sorry we've kept you waiting.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. This issue of Mompha, who is a young man, is when you fail to rub the back of the officials in government. So you become a victim. But if you rub their back, they are all known all over the places. They are, they are filled up everywhere in Business and Abuja and Port Harcourt, and the government know them. If you don't have to do the needful, rubbing their palms or their back with something, you become a victim. So that's the point there.
Is it? That's what
is not the only guy
his own circumstance
like there are so many of them
allegation.
And EFCC know them. Thank you very much.
All substantiated allegation.
So
because Eze just said now that the government official knows these guys and they are the ones that are...
But we start somewhere. So the narrative that everybody is a thief, the person where they break meat now be
should
Marawo,
continue. So let's come back
continue. It shouldn't continue because what he's trying to justify is that there are many. Why Mompha? We start from somewhere. So Mompha is someone who comes outside. Not only is he doing an illegitimate business, he's also using it, promoting it, putting it in the face of government, which is what we say. When the EFCC sees obvious money laundering in any level of life, they must investigate that money. Yes, they must investigate that process. Because you see, Obiadulu was talking about success with wealth. I think people should start to define success themselves. So the society cannot tell me I'm not successful. Like I always say, go on my sister, I'm a mother of two. That's success itself. So whatever you call success legitimately should be, and it's a process. It's a work that you put in process, and every stage of it is success.
Exactly.
So I won't really blame people who feel, leave them alone now. I won't blame them. For one thing, because they see the politicians do things like that, and because they have the, no, I'm telling you the mindset of the average Nigerian. They see them get away with so many crimes, so many money crimes, laundry. We see laundry broad daylight. Nobody can speak against it. Nobody does anything against it. And so we now, when it's a young person who is doing a private, crime, so to speak, you want to hold. So it's as if the powers that be are working for some people and against other people. So my advice would be to the Nigerian government to make it holistic. If there's a politician who has been accused of eating so money he's not supposed to, let us see prosecution. Exactly, let's see prosecution. So if the young boy out there is seeing that if we can prosecute a minister, if we can send a governor to jail, you know that you have no excuse. So let's make it holistic. A parent cannot be living a life and expecting the child to go the other way. It's modeling, and it comes from the head. So I also expect individuals. You notice that somebody is flaunting money, that you are wondering what is the source of this money. How much are they paying you in your business? How does this person suddenly jump into this money?
When we ask those questions, they will say you are bad belly, number one. Number two is, I saw on social media after Mompha's story broke, what was Mompha's major issue is that he had 51 accounts.
Through which?
And there was a lot of money in those accounts, and he couldn't explain the source of the wealth. And they said, same way Mompha cannot explain the source of the wealth, there are many politicians that come into power without being wealthy and that can't explain some of that wealth. So is it okay for us to just group all of them and say, oh, radar politicians, or like Nima says, start with one?
Yeah. Okay, for me, what you just said indicts also banks. So that's the thing that we're talking about holistically, and our caller also. Because for me, questions are, here you are with so much money, 51 accounts. When I used to work in the bank, you had to do your, know your customer. So where monies were supposed to be coming from, you could tell what this person did. So you were meant to ask, and if it seemed shady a bit, this was something that you were allowed to question. So obviously, our banks are complicit with with things like that. But also, I think the caller said something about mules, that these people are mules. Because for me, I wonder how you are unafraid to show illegitimate wealth. What gives you that backing?
Confidence.
What gives you that confidence? Is there someone somewhere who you think is untouchable that can protect you?
I think everybody should go and watch
is there
King of Boys.
So these are things that I agree that maybe these are just boys. This is just the surface that we're seeing, and it's difficult to prosecute people like this because they are attached to much bigger men.
Long rope.
Exactly. So if we're ready as a nation to deal with this, then we should know that a lot of heads will roll.
I'll come to you, Nima, after taking this call. Stephen is calling from Ikeja. Welcome to the show. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Stephen.
Sorry, Stephen. I'm so sorry.
When we say that, the politicians are stealing, and so when individuals are stealing, the politicians are the bad example, statement of fact. But that we cannot pick the individual because we have not picked the politicians. We are simply asking for a Singapore.
No, nobody said
under the former Singapore leader. But what we have here is a democracy. Everybody will say, I have a right, I've been picked. So, and we will have legitimate bodies come up and say their rights have been abused. So we need to do things when we need to do them.
Yeah.
We can start from anywhere. Recently, the former presidential anti-corruption Oga Oko Obono Obla was picked, and his kingsmen are shouting that he's being witch-hunted. When Saraki is picked, he's being witch-hunted. When we pick Mompha again, we should leave him. What exactly do we want as a country?
We're not saying they should leave him. Everybody agrees that we must pick name and shame. Yeah. We have this call, someone calling all the way from Yobik. Roland, welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I feel flamboyant wealth display is actually an attribute connected to musicians and hip-hop musicians, all of that. But then my greatest fear in Nigeria is the fact that the effect these people have on the young generation is going out of hand. It's crazy. I mean, I'm coming from where secondary school students are already trying to are already drafting out plans on how to make wealth. And when you ask them of how they want to make it, they don't even know. I mean, apart from that, in my former school, I had a guy that was like, man, every way in a way. All those kind of utterances actually come from people that are so much on social media, and then these guys like Mompha have influence on them. So I think what the EFCC has done is great, and then they should push on and continue with the good work, because the effect these things is having on people like me and even younger than me is just crazy. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland.
Take a sweet tweet to support what he just said. Adefunke says, why do people always try to justify fraud? The fraudster is a thief. Fatima Giwa says, Mompha's wealth has made so many young youth commit suicide. At times, I look at his Instagram page and I just cry. Honorable Ademola says, no one is against flamboyant lifestyle if your source of wealth is legitimate. If you are suspected to have made your wealth in an illegitimate way, then that source of wealth should be investigated. So if Dangote was flaunting wealth, like when he said he counted 10 million, he took it to his house and counted it just to be sure that he was wealthy, and then took it back to the bank, then nobody will be screaming.
Nima, the thing is, those people who make legitimate money don't flaunt it.
That's the thing.
They are too afraid to
The
flaunt
richest
it.
men in the world, they don't flaunt
every
money.
flaunter is a suspect.
I'm telling you, so
And I
if you
think
go on
that's
social media...
You must promote that. Every flaunter, everybody living flamboyant should be investigated.
Yes, exactly.
Just investigate. Find out where did they get the money from.
Yes.
Investigate, because at least you are putting, if you are putting first class,
yes,
we know how much first class costs. First class on some flights costs as much as 5 million naira.
Yes.
And you are putting it over and over again. Then we should
These are
call
the people
you
that
out.
made flights out of Nigeria more expensive than flights out of Benin. So you are going to UK from Nigeria, you pay a certain amount of higher than you can't even up to half of that in Benin.
Okay. So it's also a responsibility to raise our young people in such a way that they are not carried away with what they see out there. Nobody will train our children for us. So if you model hard work to your child, and anything the child brings home that you did not buy for the child, you question, your child will know that this is not the life for me. So even if I go on social media and I see people flaunting, my daddy doesn't flaunt, my mom, it will be new to the child. But the problem is we have parents who are excited that other people are flaunting and they want their children, and they use sinister comments. Is it not your mate that is just buying car for me? Is it not your mate that is doing this one for my family? Is it not your mate? You know, so that is it not your mate has led a lot of children to do what they are not supposed to do on a normal day. So it's our responsibility to raise our own children. Nobody will do them for us. It's not social media that will raise our children for us.
So our final message concerning values and how, if our nation wants to change, we need to... There are criminals in developed countries too. There would always be criminal elements, but we must portray positive role models to our young ones in such a way that they will not be thinking of wealth without value, which is a problem. They just want to acquire wealth without thinking of what value am I going to give in exchange for this wealth. And that's why we are talking about it, so that people would pull their kids' ears, that don't just go after anything.
And then parents should start to celebrate inventions among their children, start to celebrate excellence in academics. Those are the successful stories we should start to promote out there, as opposed to flaunting new cars.
So we cannot still till today be discussing whether we should honor Adadevo or not.
Why?
People are looking, that's a medical doctor, she gave her life. So there are people who are thinking, I would never do that because it means I'll be thrown away. But someone like Mompha can come and the whole world will celebrate him. So if as a country you want to start to changing the mindset, these are the sort of things you do. When you do competitions for children who are doing maths and English, give them gifts that make sense.
They give them 100K.
No, don't. The other shows that we do, those are private shows, yes, and they get all sorts of money. We also, if you're interested in the sort of children we want to raise, we need to come up with shows that celebrate their intelligence. Do you understand?
Brands
and award them in a way.
Endorse
legitimacy.
Business. Don't endorse
not only brands.
That's a different
our royal fathers who give chieftain titles without investigating the source of wealth because of money. Because this Mobala just put that tweet out there and it reminded me quickly. We see that happen under the Obasanjo presidency. All governors got royal titles under a particular monarch in the southwest here. All governors, whether they stole the money or not.